Good morning, friends, from the ambulance and Overland Expo, where I just spent my first overnight in here. This rig has already had such a crazy journey, and I thought that before I get into the weekend and what I'm actually doing here, that I would catch you all up on what the heck is going on with this rig. If you missed it, about 2 weeks ago now, I was stranded in this rig and honestly did not know what the heck I was going to do with it after that. Was I going to sell it immediately? Was I going to try to return it to the previous owner or the consignment dealer that I purchased it from? Was I just going to take the hit and sulk about it for a little while? Or was I going to look at the situation, see if it was fixable, fix it, and move the heck on? And thankfully I have chosen the latter, which is why I'm here today getting ready to tear into this thing after this weekend. I figured I should do this build and the previous owner some justice by spending at least one weekend in it as it sat, and to also get a feel for the space before really ripping into things and making it a giant metal sauna, which it's already pretty hot in here this weekend, but it would have been even worse without insulation and wood. So I'm glad that I've taken my time and taken a bit of space to get acquainted with it, because more and more now, every hour that I spend in here, I see myself and I see Tara spending hopefully the next few years in this rig. But I don't want to move on from the past situation just so quick, because I know a lot of you have questions about what actually happened. Was it an engine failure? Was it a transmission issue? What happened? So it's a multi-part story that I'm gonna try to make short, but drop your questions down below if you want me to expand on anything, 'cause I just don't want to bore you all. The short version is that unfortunately there was a wiring harness and a pigtail that had come loose, or the valve had somehow gotten dislodged, which meant that I had an intermittent power issue to multiple components within my engine. Unfortunately, this intermittent wiring connection or electrical signal shorted my IDM, which I believe stands for injector driver module. Now this piece, these two components I should say, are a majority of what tells the engine to actually fire and for the injectors to work, which explains why when I was getting off the highway and trying to get to safety, I had absolutely no engine power. We were at a very low rumble, possibly even quieter than the Subaru, going about 5 miles per hour. But gratefully, one of the parts was actually warrantied from work that the past owner had already done because of a similar intermittent electrical issue. The thing is, they never found that in the past, and so that pigtail and harness was original to the ambulance, or to the truck portion of the ambulance, which meant that it actually was never the IDM having problems, but these other components that were affecting it, making it seem like the IDM was going to need to be replaced maybe every year. And to just really sweeten this entire deal and make me feel better about the process, Lance Auto Sales in Westminster, Colorado, which is where I purchased this ambulance, was very stand up about the entire process. I called them and let them know what was going on, all the issues that we were having, and honestly how stressed out I was. I hope that I wasn't too hard on you guys, but I really was just nervous, anxious, and not sure what to do next. But they were so kind and actually covered the entire tow and the mechanical repairs for me. And so right now I'm not sitting out of pocket any more than the day that I purchased this ambulance. All of this said, I will be spending the next 2 nights in here as well at Overland Expo, and I'm really excited to get to know the space a little bit better and to head in to see vendors and other designs and builds to give me inspiration for this space, because I have never touched a space this big and with this many possibilities. So let's head out there and go check out the expo. All right, well, I just marched my happy butt back to the ambulance to have some lunch and talk a little bit more about how I am managing to live out of this when it's nearly 100 degrees without shade in the middle of Loveland, Colorado at an off-grid festival. Now, in the past, I've had rigs that have had full power systems, and while this one does have lights that you may or may not be able to tell I'm turning on and off right now, and a small fan, it's all hooked up currently to the truck's battery. And it's not a problem per se, but I definitely don't trust it to run my fridge all weekend, to charge my laptop so that way I can start my classes early, which I did yesterday, or to charge my everyday electronics like my camera and my phone, which is why I'm thrilled to once again be partnering with Bluetti and their AC 180p power station. I've been able to recharge and keep charged the Bluetti AC 180p to the extent that I didn't even put the solar panel out today because I didn't need to. And it's been charging my fridge between the Subaru and the camper now for over 2 weeks, since well before the last time we chatted. Now this weekend I decided to leave the Starlink at home and be semi off-grid, hang out with some friends, and really just allow myself to enjoy the weekend. But normally I'm able to power my Starlink, this Dometic fridge, all of my devices, my laptop, and pretty much anything else my friends could desire. Yesterday I even allowed them to borrow one of my older units that I'm not necessarily actively using but had with me to recharge their camper after their batteries died. But today I'm specifically talking about the 180p. So I'm going to go ahead and overlay a graphic here that breaks down exactly what you could expect to power using this 180p power station at a full charge. Now personally, I choose to pair my 180p as well as all of my other Bluetti stations, which I still actively use because they work incredibly well, with the PV350, which is a 350 watt panel, which again, especially in full daylight, keeps me at 100% around the clock. Now for the purposes of this video and demonstration, I decided to unplug my solar panel yesterday afternoon when I was at 100% full charge, and overnight, so since yesterday at about 3 o'clock to now at 1:49 p.m., it is only down to 76%. And I'm gonna try in the next 3 hours before I actually have to pack up and leave the event to recharge the power station fully before I get home to make sure that the next time I go out, we are ready to go. So let's head outside, plug in that panel, and see just how long it's gonna take to get back to a full charge. Alright you guys, well, just under 2 hours later and the Bluetti AC 180p is fully charged to the point where my fridge is still plugged in, as you'll see that little cord right there, and the solar isn't even registering as pulling in any power. And it's not because there's not sunlight outside, but it's because it is so efficient and so fast acting that we don't need any more solar to keep it at 100%. Now I know what you're thinking, Alexandria, all you're doing right now is powering small electronics, internet, and a fridge. I think that's still impressive to be able to do around the clock, but I see where you're coming from. And so I'm really excited to announce that Bluetti is going to be the sole method that I'm using to build this camper out over the next few months. Because I'll be building off-grid in parking lots and potentially in Airbnbs as I leave Denver for the winter and head home to help family out. More on that later. I'm not gonna have access to a generator nor the ability to plug into a loud and noisy gas appliance to work when I need to. And so I'm gonna be using not only the Bluetti 180p, but also my AC 200L and 240 to make sure that I stay powered again around the clock, so that way I can work when I need to and hopefully stay out of these hot temperatures midday. So whether you're looking to go festival camping, you're heading to Burning Man, you want to go off-grid this winter, or you just want some backup power for your house in the event of an emergency, head down to the link down in the description down below to check out the Bluetti 180p for yourself amongst other power stations that might also or better fit your needs. And thank you again to Bluetti for sponsoring today's video. So it's been a few days since I was at Overland Expo and took my first trip in the ambulance, and originally my thought was to end that video out at the expo, but it was just sweltering hot. I was greasy and sweaty, as you guys all saw, and genuinely just wanted to enjoy the end of the expo as well as networking to make some new relationships with brand partners who I hope to work with in the future on this upcoming build. As such, I was planning originally on actually talking more about the build at the end of this video, but since this is a life update, I figured that I would just give you all the update that I hinted at earlier now. So as I was mentioning, there are a few things that are not related to the ambulance and not related to me living in Denver, but that could impact both in the next couple of months. These things are family health concerns that I'm not going to get too into detail of because they're not truly mine to share. But because they are going to impact this build, I figured I would just let you all know ahead of time because it's really going to change the pace at which I'm starting the process of building over the next couple of weeks. The short story is in October, most likely mid to end of October, I will be heading back home to California. My parents do not have a home there actually any longer. They got on the road this past November, but my dad's gonna go in for a surgery and I would love to be there to help my mom and him both out as he recovers. This also is gonna fall right around the holidays. And so I just figured instead of staying all the way out here in Denver where it's gonna be getting colder, probably snowing and not ideal build conditions anyways, that I would head home to help them out, get a little bit more done on the build and spend some holiday time with family. That said, the plan currently is to keep my lease in Denver because once I'm done helping them out and once the holidays are over, I will be coming back out here to finish out my lease and to finish the build before getting on the road full time this coming spring. In the meantime, I'm probably gonna be taking a couple of trips. I will be driving the ambulance out to California to continue making progress on the build. And as all of you have constantly been wondering, I will also be completing the first part of my master's degree remotely online. All of this means that I'm going to be extremely busy, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that I was a little bit overwhelmed with all of the things coming my way. But at the end of the day, they're all things that I've been wanting and working towards for a long time. So that's how I've come to the decision. I will be staying in Denver, going to California for the holidays and to help my dad and mom out and continuing my build all along the way. Hopefully it'll go largely unnoticed and the cadence of my videos and my work online will not change that dramatically, but I will definitely be building in a variety of places over the next couple of months and trying to figure out my next move kind of along the way and as it comes, because at this point I feel like it's the best thing that I can do. In the meantime, last week I posted on the community tab asking you all for your questions about the build, life, grad school, or anything else that you've been curious about lately, because I know there's been a lot of new things coming and a lot of things changing. So if you missed that, you still have a little bit of time to submit your questions. You can drop them down below in the comment section, or you can DM me on Instagram and I'll be sure to answer those next week. For now, I just got home, but I need to publish this video. I need to pack for this weekend and get ready to head back into the mountains where I will be tearing into the ambulance and tearing apart with some friends at a lake. Because why do it in a Lowe's parking lot where it's 95 degrees when you could jump in a lake after you're done with the day's work? All said, that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking around for this life update. I know it's been a bit long-winded with a couple of wrenches thrown in the middle, but I really appreciate all of your support, all of you caring as much as you do, leaving comments every week, wishing us well and asking questions. And I can't wait to see you all in the next one as we get started on this new build. Thank you again to Bluetti for sponsoring today's video. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll see you all in the next one. Bye.